Joe and Mika Brzezinski Scarborough, who famously warned of the growing threat of Trump's fascism, also had an interesting announcement to make. As many of you are aware, the news has been pretty bleak recently, in the past 200-300 years. Listen, but this weekend, there was one story that was so disturbing, so dark, even the news couldn't handle it.
Comedian Jon Stewart just handed Joe Scarborough and his oh-so-serious wife Mika Brzezinski a masterclass in rhetorical takedowns, and the internet is loving every second of it. Stewart dared to do the unthinkable, call out the power couple's latest hypocrisy right on their own turf. And let's be honest, it's not every day someone checks their own media tribe live and unfiltered. It was like spotting Bigfoot in a tailored blazer, rare, surreal, and oddly satisfying. But hey, this is Jon Stewart we're talking about. The man's made a career out of cutting through political spin, no matter which side it slithers from. Red, blue, or that smug MSNBC beige. The result? A juicy collision of media egos, moral posturing, and public accountability. So grab your popcorn, because this showdown is equal parts savage and satisfying. You're going to want to see this.
For those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we?
Because you said he was.
You can't spend years calling someone a tyrant, a fascist, and the second coming of Mussolini, and then strut into the White House like it's an invite-only Netflix after-party the moment your name hits the guest list. Seriously, pick a lane. No one's saying Trump's harshest critics have to swear off dialogue forever. But let's be real. There's a Grand Canyon-sized difference between principled resistance and a non-stop melodrama aimed at torching him 24/7. You can't ring the democracy doom bell on MSNBC, then casually swing by for polite chit-chat, like he's just your spicy take uncle from Florida. And yet, that's been Joe and Mika's brand from day one. Full-blown outrage on camera, cozy access off-air. That's not journalism. That's political dinner theatre dressed in press passes. And Jon Stewart, he's not having it. He's allergic to hypocrisy, no matter how polished the anchor desk looks. He's not just calling them out. He's peeling back the entire performance, because if the watchdogs are part of the act, who's left guarding the truth?
We don't know what the visit was. We don't know what the tone of the visit was.
We talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents.
Oh, I bet you really laid down the gauntlet, Joe. I bet you walked in there and just let him have it, didn't you, Joey? Mr. President, your rhetoric is outrageous. I cannot in good conscience... Ooh, are those macaroons? The pink one is raspberry.
Like Jon Stewart, I can only imagine the electric small talk Joe and Mika brought to their cozy White House dinner. Did they lock eyes with Trump and whisper, "You're a fascist"? Maybe dropped a Hitler comparison between bites of filet and sips of first-class Pinot? Or did the chandeliers and gold-plated place settings suddenly dim their trademark MSNBC fire? It's easy to play resistance hero from behind a desk, when your biggest foe is a fussy teleprompter. But when you're in the same room as the man you've painted as democracy's grim reaper, that outrage evaporates. In its place, polished, grins, careful handshakes, and perfectly timed photo ops. That's not journalism. That's Broadway with a buffet. And Stewart's not new to this. He already roasted MSNBC months ago for their Trump addiction and theatrical double standards.
As many of you are aware, the news has been pretty bleak recently, the past 200-300 years. Listen, but this weekend, there was one story that was so disturbing, so dark, even the news couldn't handle it.
We're not going to show because of how disturbing it is.
I was extremely disturbed to see this.
Horrible, horrible, violent imagery.
Violent and dehumanizing imagery.
We're only going to show you a clip of this briefly.
All right, that's enough. Let's take it down.
The ominous music, the grim expressions, the breathless tone. You'd think we just entered political Armageddon, MSNBC cranks the drama dial to 100 like we're witnessing the fall of Rome. Then, nothing. Just another Trump headline puffed up like a Macy's Day balloon. It's the same tired formula. Take a routine moment, wrap it in fear, and market it as a national emergency. Every eyebrow raise from Trump becomes the beginning of the end. Every tweet, a constitutional crisis in 280 characters. They're not informing the public. They're staging a panic parade for clicks. This isn't journalism. It's off-Broadway melodrama with a studio budget. And honestly, even the acting's getting stale.
I can't imagine how devastating this footage must be.
Former President Donald Trump shared a video, this one, on his Truth Social account featuring an image of President Joe Biden hogtied on the back of a pickup truck.
And that's exactly what makes Jon Stewart snap. The fake drama wrapped in a straight face. The media acts stunned, shocked, horrified, like this chaos came out of nowhere. But where were they in 2017 when Kathy Griffin held up a fake severed Trump head? It was grotesque, macabre, straight up disgusting, and MSNBC barely blinked. Now fast forward, Trump reposts a clearly satirical Biden meme, and it's DEFCON 1. Suddenly, the panels form, voices lower to dramatic whispers, and it's doomsday vibes on loop. The hypocrisy is glaring. Outrage isn't about principle, it's about who they like. Stewart sees the script for what it is. Recycled fear porn for cable ratings. And like the rest of us, he's tired of the same phony act getting primetime billing.
Aren't you the same networks that show reruns of 9/11 every year? I mean, I don't think it's great that Trump is posting things like this, but it's not like people really think Joe Biden was tied up in the back of the truck.
Jon Stewart keeps tearing into MSNBC, this time ripping the mask off their fake sense of decency. He called out how they air 9/11 footage on repeat, zoom in on natural disasters, and milk real-life trauma. Graphic? Sure. Disturbing? Absolutely. But if it drives clicks or fuels their narrative, it's game on. Then Trump drops a goofy, over-the-top video, and suddenly it's too disturbing to show. Now they find their moral compass? Please. That's not ethics. That's scripted censorship. They're not protecting viewers. They're protecting the plot twist they've been selling. For years, when the footage boosts fear, it's in high def. When it pokes holes in their spin, total blackout. The double standard is so loud, even Bill Maher had to raise an eyebrow and call BS. And Stewart, like the rest of us, is done pretending this is anything but performance politics.
There is no doubt.
There's no misinformation.
There's some disinformation from the left, but comparing it to what Donald Trump spews out every day, every week, comparing it to what Elon Musk is spewing out, unfortunately, on X, you sound like Brett Stevens now, with all due respect. It's a joke. That's a real time.
And you sound like him, who looks like Rachel Maddow.
You understand what I'm saying?
I've never argued with that. I've never argued of a false equivalency. I just said there is misinformation from both sides. Well, I lived through COVID. Don't tell me there wasn't misinformation.
Here's Joe Scarborough, stone-faced and smug, claiming left-wing misinformation isn't nearly as dangerous as what comes from the right. Really, Joe? That takes laughable on a good day and pure gaslighting on a bad one. Let's rewind to the COVID chaos. Shifting origin stories, panic-driven data drops, and fear sold like candy. Faulty tests, inflated hospitalization numbers, and just 14 days to slow the spread. Became lockdowns that felt endless. It wasn't journalism. It was coordinated manipulation, and it worked like a charm. People panicked, obeyed, and MSNBC happily pumped out every doomsday headline without question. But now we're supposed to pretend only the right twists the truth. That's rich. Scarborough's moral high ground is built on the thinnest layer of spin, and just when it starts sounding like parody, in steps another MSNBC pundit with more delusion. Cue Bill Maher to cut through the noise.
2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance. And then he drops out after a catastrophic debate performance, and they set Kamala Harris up to fail. It was a 3-month campaign, and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No.
Maher, in classic Maher fashion, slices through the spin and lays down the inconvenient truth. No, Kamala Harris didn't lose because she had just 3 months to campaign. Let's not insult everyone's intelligence. She was the sitting vice president of the United States, the second most powerful seat in the nation, not some political intern. This wasn't about gender or America not being ready. Voters were ready. They just weren't buying what she was selling. Kamala became infamous for her polished speeches that sounded profound, but meant absolutely nothing. Every word felt rehearsed. Every sentence looped back into itself. Elegant gibberish at its finest. She didn't speak with clarity. She performed with ambiguity, leaving voters cold and disconnected. And in the end, it wasn't sexism or timing that took her down. It was authenticity, or rather, the lack of it. People didn't see a leader. They saw a brand trying too hard to be everything and ending up as nothing.
You know what would be good at MSNBC is if you actually did think about both sides and weighed the arguments and made constructive arguments against that side while respecting them. You don't do that. It's propaganda all the time.
What you just said,
and by denying any...
What you just said just described my show. So I had a Trump lawyer on this week. I've had Steve Bannon on my show. I've had Trump White House officials.
I watch MSNBC.
Right, you describing a goal that I'm achieving, I take that as a compliment.
You know what would actually help MSNBC? If they started doing real journalism, weighing both sides, challenging ideas with logic without demonizing every opposing view like it's the devil in a red hat. Instead, they deliver the same old propaganda cocktail, loud, moralizing, and one-sided to the core. Bill Maher nailed it. You just described my show. He brings on Trump lawyers, Bannon, White House insiders. That's journalism. Meanwhile, MSNBC sticks to its script like it's sacred gospel. No nuance, no balance, just tribal outrage in high definition. Their shows don't inform, they perform. Cue the dramatic music, the dead serious faces, and the moral grandstanding. It's not news, it's programming. And I mean that in the most literal sense. Messy truths get buried, and inconvenient facts vanish, all to protect the narrative their base wants to hear. At this point, calling it journalism is like giving a reality show a Pulitzer, theatrical, exaggerated, and proudly out of touch.